Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my ranking for the films of September 2018. This is the latest video in my monthly ranking series, in which I provide my personal ranking for the films I saw in theaters during each and every month of the year. This month there is a slight cheat, a film that I saw opening weekend in September but technically it was like an August 31st release. But I saw it like September 1st. And it was opening weekend. So I decided to include it in this month's ranking. And in total, that gives me 12 films for the month of September. So this is just my personal ranking for the films I personally saw in theaters this month. And they are all new releases, new films for the month of September 2018. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into the ranking. Kicking off at number 12, aka dead last, we have Life Itself. This was a bit of a no-brainer here, honestly. Life Itself turned out to just be a schmaltzy mess of a film. One that has all of our female characters having to die for our male characters to learn the importance of being connected to others. Really weird circumstances, really cliched messaging, and a completely jumbled mess of a script. Even a good cast trying to get something out of this material could not save Life Itself from just being a mess. Yeah, it was definitely my least favorite film from September. At number 11, I have Peppermint. There are quite a few people actually that seem to enjoy Peppermint. I wish I would have been one of them because unfortunately this was just a big disappointment for me. Honestly, the biggest fault was that Peppermint really seemed like amateur hour. It was filmed incomprehensibly, the script was a mess, and we didn't get enough of what we wanted from the movie. They skipped over so much of the good bits, and even the awesome action moments didn't feel all that great. And again, just a wretched script here. Peppermint could have been this awesome, badass return to action for Jennifer Garner. Instead, we were given glimpses of awesome badassery amongst this really dud of a film. At number 10, I have Night School. A comedy that just didn't provide the laughs. Night School gave us chuckle here, chuckle there, mostly due to Tiffany Haddish and the other students of our Night School ensemble here. But unfortunately, Kevin Hart is doing his Kevin Hart thing, and I'm not really a fan of that Kevin Hart thing. The filmmaking was oddly pedestrian from Malcolm. And honestly, when you put this cliched story with a not so funny comedy and stretch it out to an unnecessary 2 hours long, I was pretty bored through the most of Night School, so it landed here at number 10. At number 9, I have The Predator. There was some awesome action in The Predator, some really fun action set pieces here, and there are definitely some fun moments to be had as we work our way through this movie. However, the story itself is a convoluted, jumbled mess in what should be a pretty straightforward storyline. We're given details that we don't really care about, we never really needed to know. And then for good measure, they throw in some really offensive and ignorant comedy, and it just did not work. We make fun of everyone from people who suffer from mental illness to children on the autism spectrum. And then we have a female character who is relegated as just there basically for eye candy. Who's not allowed to really do her job as a scientist. So while there are fun bits, we get predator versus human action, it cannot overcome the many, many pitfalls the film has. At number 8, I have The Nun. I actually had fun with The Nun. Both horror films that end up on this list I had fun with. And that kicks off with The Nun. I think there were some creepy set pieces. We had a nice ambiance going on throughout the entirety of The Nun. And I've kind of described this film as the horror version of a big, dumb, fun blockbuster. Because that's kind of what it felt like to me. But unnecessary comedy throughout the film really does drag it down. And the third act is just so over the top that I was kind of chuckling and laughing when I think I was supposed to be scared. They really should have left the nun more of a mystery. Once we really get to see her and you have this blood and all this craziness at the end of the film, it goes over the top and it definitely falls into ridiculous territory. So while I had fun with the film overall, definitely from a filmmaking standpoint, it has a lot of problems and was a bit on the disappointing side. So number 8 it is. At number 7, I have Hellfest. So this is another film that's been pretty maligned across the board. Another horror film that came out in September that I just had a good time with. This felt like an old throwback, just slasher film. The script is nothing. The character development doesn't exist, and that's really what keeps it from moving anywhere on this list. But I thought a lot of the kills were fun. It was gory. And the idea of Hellfest itself was awesome. It really made me want a Hellfest in real life. So perfectly easy breezy, harmless thriller gets its way to number 7. At number 6, I have White Boy Rick. This film had so much potential because the original real life story behind White Boy Rick is absolutely fascinating. It is intriguing and it really exposes an injustice in our justice system here in the United States. Rick himself has an amazing story that deserved an equally amazing film. Unfortunately, we're left with kind of a substandard film of its type. White Boy Rick isn't bad, and I don't think it actually does many outright bad things, but the pace is just such a slog. They turned this interesting story into a bit of a snooze fest. The script is a little bit all over the place, and it's really just kind of held up, not only by that interesting origin story, but by a very, very strong performance from Matthew McConaughey. But everybody around him, they're meh. And that left me feeling pretty meh about White Boy Rick in general, so it gets to number 6. At number 5, I have The Little Stranger. So this is my August release that snuck into my September ranking. I really struggled with where to put The Little Stranger because it really fluctuated for me on whether I liked it, whether I didn't like it, what I really thought about it, and I kind of settled near the middle with the other mixed bag films. The Little Stranger does an amazing job of setting up atmosphere. This is such a wonderfully atmospheric film that really made me wish it was just a little bit better. But it is riddled. And some of the concepts in here are really cool. Some of the set pieces are really nice. Our entire house is a really cool place and setting. This old school town is really kind of creepy on its own. But the film is riddled with unlikable characters. Characters that you just can't seem to find yourself being invested in, rooting for, or even hating because they're just not really interesting people or good people. So you're left in a weird limbo land with all of them, and it leaves you in a state of disinterest for good chunks of the film. And then it comes around with a concept that honestly is confusing and doesn't really hold up once you start poking into the actual plot of the movie. So it's an atmospheric film that feels hollow inside of that creepy atmosphere, and that's why it only is able to get to number 5. At number 4, I have Smallfoot. I enjoyed this film way more than I had anticipated. The trailers really make this look like kind of a straight-to-DVD type of animation. But Smallfoot actually had some really sophisticated plot points, themes, and lessons within here. First of all, the animation itself is really strong in this film. I think some of the scenery stuff is pretty standard, but in particular, just the fur and the attention to detail when you get really close up in this movie is absolutely just beautiful. The voice work is really strong, and as I said, I think the themes about blindly following religion or blindly following authority, as well as themes about mutual prejudices, if you will, are really strong and really well thought out and done. The story beats themselves. We've seen before. The music, since this is surprisingly a musical, is all very forgettable, and a lot of the humor just doesn't land. So it still is a mixed bag, but one that fell onto the positive side of the mixture. At number 3, I have The House with the Clock in Its Walls. That's right, the film with this long, cumbersome title makes it all the way up to number 3. And that's because it is a really fun Halloween horror movie for younger audiences. It's such an important genre that I think is making a bit of a comeback, and I'm excited to see it. Like Smallfoot, I think the comedy aspects of this film are by far the weakest aspects of the film. There is a lot of really stupid potty humor in this movie that holds the film back from being something more, from being a more sophisticated take. It's all kind of unnecessary. But the set pieces are really cool. Eli Roth does a great job of creating kind of a horror-y atmosphere that is just the right level for older children, but still there to keep adults invested in what is happening. Plus, we get really strong performances from the child actor, from Jack Black, and in particular from Cate Blanchett. I think she really goes a long way in elevating this entire film to another level. It's fun, it's a little bit spooky, and it puts you right in the spirit for Halloween. At number 2, I have The Sisters Brothers. Now, I really enjoyed The Sisters Brothers. I think this is a very strong film overall. And it is helped immensely by really good performances from pretty much everyone. John C. Reilly is absolutely fantastic in this film. Joaquin Phoenix delivers like he always does. As does Jake Gyllenhaal, gives another great performance. Riz Ahmed is really strong. And they all come together to tell a really interesting Western that I wish more people were seeking out to watch. In parts of the film, it does drag, and I think some of that humor in this movie also gets a little bit wonkier. There's like little side tangents that really kind of detract from the overall mission and love of this film. Plus, a lot of the animal stuff really put me at unease. But it's a very interesting character study underneath of a Western shoot 'em up that is the core of this movie. It's all about these two brothers and their relationship and loving your family and staying by the side of your loved ones even when they're problematic people, and what that looks like and how those people might drag you down, how you have to balance them, but ultimately how that bond stays. And I think that is a very sophisticated story to tell, and this film handles it very well. So what could beat that? Well, number 1 for me in the month of September was A Simple Favor. I loved this movie. I thought it was so much fun. I thought it was so good, and that's why I have it at number 1. First of all, Blake Lively can do almost no wrong in my eyes, and she kills it in this movie. She is so freaking good here. This is the best I have ever seen Blake Lively. I thought she was just stellar. Fashions were amazing in this movie, and they equally kept up with the amazing style of the film itself. Paul Feig killed it in the directing, I thought. He was able to create this really fun thriller while also creating a very smart satire on that thriller genre. Anna Kendrick, I thought, was really strong, and Henry Golding is just a star at this point. But this movie does a great job of creating that thriller, creating this mystery, and keeping you guessing throughout. Every time you're on the road of standard fare, it subverts an expectation and takes us either in a comedic route or goes that one extra step to keep the mystery going. And that's what just kept it fun for me. I don't think this film really took itself serious. Again, I think it is a satire more than it is a straightforward thriller, much in the vein of Spy. The comedy worked, the direction was amazing, the cinematography was great, I thought the script was fantastic. Pretty much everything worked in this film for me, and it was probably the most fun I had watching a film for September 2018. And that is why A Simple Favor ranks as my #1 pick for September. So that's how I rank the films I saw in September for 2018. What do you think of my rankings? What do you think of the films I put in the ranking here? And most importantly, how do you rank the films you saw this month? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. If you like these ranking videos and you like this video in particular, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!